How do everybody? I've got an absolute another doozy of a story here. I couldn't believe it actually when I first saw it. I've not read through the whole article. I've just read the first couple of lines because I actually had to check that this was what I thought it was, and it really was exactly what I thought it was. So let's get on with this. I'm prepared to be shocked and amazed that this even had to go to court in the first place. So I'm going to have to be careful with my words here for YouTube. So please excuse me whilst I sort of do a bit of a linguistic pirouette around particular words in this. So a forced adult activities survivors centre worker wins a tribunal over gender critical beliefs. So, a woman who worked at a centre for helping women who've survived a particular type of adult crime against them was unfairly and constructively dismissed for believing that those using the service should be able to know the sex of staff a tribunal has found. Well, to me, I think that absolutely makes 100% sense. If a woman is ringing up a support centre for help with whatever she needs help with because she has had a very serious crime committed against her, I've got a sneaking suspicion that that woman is going to want to speak to a woman and not a man who thinks he's a woman. And she has a right to know that that is an actual woman on the other end of the phone. Now, there may be some women who don't care, and that's fine. That's up to them. This is an individual decision that needs to be made by the person ringing up. And I think they need to know beforehand as well. It's not just a case of picking up the phone and it being, "Hiya, I'm Mandy. How can I help you today?" Because that's just going to make a lot of women have a complete and utter meltdown, and it may actually drive them over the edge to doing particular actions against themselves, which they may not be able to recover from. And we definitely don't want that happening. I'll leave that where it is. It also found that the Edinburgh Crisis Centre had unlawfully discriminated against Ros Adams, saying that management had conducted a heresy hunt against her. Terrible. Absolutely shocking that they would even consider doing this. You know what I mean? She's there working, helping victims of very serious crimes. And what do they do when she suggests helping these poor women who've been attacked in the best possible way? Well, they've turned on her. These people should go to prison for what they've done. It's absolutely disgusting. The ruling said, well, unfortunately, though, tribunal, this is civil matter, unfortunately, not criminal matter. So this doesn't give any sort of ugly. My understanding, anyway, is that the ruling here won't affect criminal law in any way and can't be used in criminal proceedings as precedents. It's different. The ruling said the decision to launch a disciplinary process against Miss Adams was because the centre's management wanted to make an example of her because of her gender-critical beliefs. Absolutely shocking that places like that are being politicised in this way. You can have whatever opinions you want politically, but there's certain places where politics absolutely should not go into it. And one of those places is a women's survivor centre where they're offering assistance to women. Miss Adams said the ruling has made 3 years of struggle worthwhile. Well, congratulations to her, and I bet she feels like that monkey is right off her back now. That must be such a weight off her shoulders in regards to this, and I bet it has caused her sleepless nights over the years. She told BBC News, "For me, it was dystopian. It was the strangest experience. I've never come across any other topic where to ask to talk about it and ask to find solutions that work for everybody is seen as hateful." Well, this is the problem with the ideology. It's because this whole trans ideology thing now, it's a religion. It has become an actual cult where you can't question the dogma of what it is. And this is why people like her are being attacked so vehemently about it. I personally couldn't care less. I don't believe that men can become women or that women can become men. I'll say that publicly. I have no problems in saying that. And I do believe that those people are vulnerable individuals. I do believe that they are very mentally unwell. And I do believe that they do need care and help. And I don't believe that playing into their delusions does that. In fact, I think it does the opposite, in my own opinion. There may be exceptions to that, but I do believe that that is the overwhelming majority of these people. Anyway, let's get back on with it. Miss Adams said she thought that there was a larger number of people working in the sector who are fearful of talking about gender identity and the privacy of staff. And this goes back to what I was saying in the Sainsbury's video, the vigilante action. I'll link that in below. I'll link this story in below as well, by the way, so you can read it yourself. That there are so many cowards, unfortunately, in society today. There was that guy in the shop. Now, I've had quite a lot of people have been commenting on that, which is brilliant. It's caused quite the discussion, that topic. but people are, and there are all sorts of things around it. And whatever your opinions are on that, I don't want to get into that. But basically, one of the members of staff, whilst kicking the shoplifter on the floor, was repeatedly saying sorry to him. And that just shows that that person knew what he was doing was wrong, but was continuing with the action anyway, which to me says moral cowardice. That he's not willing to stand up and say, no, this is wrong. For whatever reasons, society, we seem to have a society of spineless and cowardly individuals, and it's going to be the downfall of our civilization, and I mean that literally as well. I don't mean that in any sort of figuratively or, like over-egging the pudding type of speech. I genuinely mean that our civilization is under threat because of the amount of cowardice that we have in the general public. It's shocking. People don't want to go through what I've been through, understandably, so they won't speak up, she said. Crisis Scotland, which sets service standards for member centres, has now commissioned an independent review into practices and procedures at the Edinburgh facility. Sandy Brindley, Chief Executive of Crisis Scotland, said, "We believe that it is important that survivors can make informed choices about the services they can access at crisis centres. We know it is important for some survivors to have a choice over the sex or gender of their worker." Well, that's exactly what I was saying at the beginning of this. People shouldn't be excluded from work. I would never want to see somebody, as long as they're able to do the job soundly and they're not going to affect the people that they're helping, there's no reason why anybody shouldn't be able to, including myself, if I wanted to do that. I've no interest in doing that, by the way, and I don't think it's appropriate personally for men to be doing that. But that doesn't mean I think other men should be stopped from doing that if they feel they can do the job and if they can actually do the job. My personal views don't really matter in this. What matters is those women, and maybe they help men as well who've had that happen to them. Who knows? But getting the victims, let's call it that, getting the victims the correct help and the correct people on the end of the phone for them. That is what these people need, and I don't think that's a controversial thing to say. I really don't. The tribunal heard that when Miss Adams joined Edinburgh Crisis Centre as a counselling and support worker around February 2021. So I don't know what other word to use. So I'm just sort of going. I'm just sort of saying the word in my head and then reading Crisis Centre after it, because I don't want to get put on the YouTube naughty step, unfortunately, because they don't seem to understand nuance. But here, there we go. That's 2024 for you. Anyway, back to it. So the counselling centre, as a counselling support worker around 2021, she was supportive of trans people and excited by its trans inclusion policy. So she's done literally nothing wrong. This woman has literally done nothing wrong, and this is pure political ideology just being force-fed down people's neck and trying to force it onto the victims of very serious crimes. I mean, what do you do if one of these women has been attacked by a man who claims to be a woman, and then she has a man who thinks he's a woman answering the phone on the other end? I mean, that is a very real possibility. Do you know what I mean? That's just insane to me that the centre didn't think that would be inappropriate. And these people should be facing criminal charges for this. The management, whoever's decided this, not just this tribunal. In the months that followed, she began to feel there were issues around the way gender issues were dealt with by the organisation, described the atmosphere as eggshelly. I know that feeling, unfortunately. I know that feeling. The tribunal ruling noted that Miss Adams' view was that people using the centre should have a choice over who they receive support from on the basis of sex, and that sex is binary and everyone is either male or female at that level. Not a controversial thing to say. That is a fact of science and reality. People can think what they want to think. At the end of the day, if you want to imagine that you're 7 foot tall and you're built like Arnold Schwarzenegger, you crack on, but don't expect me to agree with your delusions. I won't be impolite about it. I won't be rude about it. I'm not going to be a horrible person about it, but I'm not going to accept your own delusions of yourself or other people for that matter. And nor should anybody else be forced to do that. And the only way we get around this is by taking a reasonable stand against it, and having to go to court if necessary, because that's where these things get fixed. At least the courts are making sensible decisions like in this. It added, her belief was that whilst in most circumstances the distinction between biological sex and gender identity did not matter, that in a service dealing with sexual violence, that respondents should be honest and clear when asked to give a clear and unambiguous answer in order to provide that service users give informed consent. Yeah, not only that, but to me as well, and I do think gender's a bit of a red herring word, because really when people are describing genders, what they're talking about is personality traits, and I do believe that it's a word that has been created to obfuscate language. And for those of you who don't understand what obfuscation means, it's basically the fancy word for saying something's a word salad, or it's language designed to sort of muddy the water and cloud. It's like if you hear an art critic talking about modern art, they'll give a load of waffle, you know, or if you read it in an art critic column, they'll have loads and loads of waffle. You'll read through it all, and at the end of it, you think, I've just read lots and lots of words there, but literally none of it made. There was no actual information in that. That is obfuscation, basically. I know it's probably not the best explanation, but I think you get the idea from that. Miss Adams said she became aware that people who wrote to the centre about the subject were classed as bigots, and emails from them were kept in a folder called hate emails. Well, again, I think these are crimes that they're committing against these victims. That to me is libelous and slanderous against these people, and I think it's a form of persecution against the victims as well. I do believe that whoever's created this situation should be facing criminal charges. Much of the tribunal centred on a disciplinary process that began after Miss Adams sought clarity on how the respondent how to respond to an abuse survivor who wanted to know if a support worker who identified as non-binary was a man or a woman. That is not an unreasonable thing for a victim of a very serious crime to want to know. And I think it's absolutely shameful that this organisation felt that wasn't appropriate. And also, if you're a person working at a centre and you think that's inappropriate, you should not be working with vulnerable people. And I think you're a danger to their sanity and their mental health and their personal safety. It's absolutely disgusting. If you should, if you think that victims wanting to know if you're a male or a female or a man or a woman, if you think that's hateful or hurtful or that they're terrible people for that, you are not the right person for that job and you should remove yourself from that employment. The tribunal found that the support worker in question had changed their name to one that was my device, by the way, not yours, to one that sounded and appeared to be male. Management drafted a response clarifying that the centre did not employ men, but advised against divulging any further details due to staff privacy. Miss Adams responded in June 2022 saying that the issue appeared to be a minefield. But it's not a minefield at all. The law's been very clear on this when people challenged it in court. There is absolutely no minefield whatsoever. What we have is a culture of cowards who have been kowtowing to this mental madness and have been allowing the idiots to run the asylum. The following month, she was invited to an investigation meeting regarding potentially transphobic views. A disciplinary process was later launched. There's quite a bit left, but I'm just flicking through it quick. It's not going on anything particularly extra to the story. I think we've gone right into the meat of it. As I say, please do read the story yourself. I will put the link below for you. I will link the Sainsbury's video in as well, so you can get the because I've mentioned it here. But please don't just take my words for this. You know, I'm not saying that I'm right on that. You know, I fully admit I could be wrong. You know, my opinions could be wrong. I don't think I'm wrong. I think I'm right. But you know, please make your own minds up. You know, do your own reading into it. Think these things over yourself. If you've got anything to say, please do. Please do put a comment below. I love reading people's comments, and I do love writing back to people. And if your arguments are strong enough, I am more than willing to change my mind on these things. So please don't feel that I'm a closed book, 'cause I'm not. If you have found this interesting, insightful, or useful in any way as well, please do like, subscribe. And as I say, please do put comments below. Thank you, and goodbye.